Hi, it's Ruby. Thanks for clicking on my video. Today I'm really excited. I have my cousin DG here. Say hi.
Hi, everybody.
And we've been talking for a while, wanting to do a collaboration around Marvel and Disney. And with the investors meeting announcement that just came out this past week, we thought it was a perfect time to kind of get into this. And I am no Marvel expert, but my cousin is, I feel like. And I have my book here, characters here, so we can go look at that too. So why don't you introduce yourself and say a little bit about why you love Marvel and how you kind of stumbled upon it, and as an adult, what it means to you.
So excited to do this, Ruby. Love the podcast. Love the series. It's awesome. Love the energy. Grew up with Marvel. Like, obviously, we grew up together. You know the nerdiness of you, me, and our other cousin in terms of that. And then I think as we got older, like it wasn't just comic books and cards and cartoons. It became movies, and it became this huge universe, and more people got into it. And so I think that, like, as we grew, it grew as well. And then in my life, like, I've been in advertising almost 14 years, working with a lot of different like consumer groups in the tourism industry for Hyatt. And also recently my current role, I work one of the people who worked on the advertising with Jake from State Farm. And we recently worked with Marvel on a comic book with Jake. So that whole creative process was really awesome. Kind of a dream to do, and just to understand like their creative process, how it works with them, was really cool. And obviously I'm still like on the Marvel train. But I think that, like, as we're talking about these Disney announcements, I feel like the universe is opening up. Like you see like what happened with Endgame, and people kind of thought, okay, well, that's like the end of a chapter. And I feel like this announcement is opening up like 5 new chapters to Disney, to Marvel, to the acquisition of Fox and all those properties. So this is awesome news. I think we've been starved for it since Spider-Man Far From Home, which was last summer. It's been a long time. So
yes, thank you. And so I want to let's just get right into it. And I want to ask you a couple questions, because you made me think of a few things. So first off, we were talking about Marvel Phase 4, I think is officially like what they call it. But Black Widow was supposed to come out this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at one point they even said Doctor Strange was supposed to come out at the end of this year. And then they launched Disney Plus. Has it been a full year? Yeah, it has, since last summer.
Yeah.
With The Mandalorian. Why do you think, so obviously the virus was a big aspect of this, but why do you think they delayed so much of this, and then now it's like they're dumping all of this content on Disney Plus? And it felt like maybe there was a fear there to fully transition to putting their content on Disney Plus, like the stuff that they had slated for major release, like in studio. And I know Milan coming out, it kind of, but was an opportunity to see how numbers went. So what do you think is the thought process behind releasing everything finally now and actually putting dates to it versus earlier this year, because they've had this platform now successfully for almost a year now?
Yeah. I think what's interesting is that, especially with The Mandalorian, I think The Mandalorian kind of set it off a little bit. Mm-hmm. Seeing that is the first big series that Disney Plus did. And it's very well done. From seeing, like, from being on the other side, being in advertising, you can tell like a cheap production from an expensive production. You look at who the directors are, you look at the content that they're creating, and this is not cheap stuff. So, I think that what they decided to do with Disney Plus, and I think Bob Iger, the former CEO of Disney, said this too, was that they were dipping their toe in and seeing, what kind of interest there was for The Mandalorian, which has obviously gone through the roof. And who knows, probably, is setting in motion a film franchise as well. So I think that what they're doing, with the Marvel announcements is, obviously there is WandaVision coming out, Loki, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think that they're literally planting the seed of like Miss Marvel, exactly. And and I think that they're planting the seed for franchises. Mm-hmm. And I think that also too, it's like, instead of having to invest $200 million in a movie production with CGI and actors and locations, they can do a TV series, you know, and see how they do the first season. And if that works well and it goes over really well, like The Mandalorian, they can do a movie and invest the money. So, and especially doing it at an investor summit, I think is really interesting because it's literally showing the cards, like showing your plan, like where all these Marvel series, how they, and perhaps movies, but really franchises. And I think that will also extend into the parks as well.
Yes. And I'm glad you mentioned the parks too, because we've been also talking about the fact, so just to go backwards, last year they opened Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland. And I remember when they first announced it, I'll be honest, I was like, oh, cool, it's going to be a new land. But I wasn't, I would say, a big Star Wars fan. Like, obviously I was a fan, but not, it wasn't like where I watched everything. My husband is a big fan. He put me onto like the Clone Wars and stuff because I didn't even realize how significant the cartoons were to fill in the gaps between the different movies. And so when it opened, I mean, you can go and Google it, but people were there for the Disneyland opening. But it was almost like it was competing with Universal Studios, and Universal Studios, quite frankly, in Disneyland was in California was winning. And so there was all of this video of the crowds being so low in Disneyland in the summer, which is unheard of. And then in Universal Studios, because they were launching the Jurassic World franchise, so changing the Jurassic Park ride to Jurassic World, and then the success with that, everybody was over there. And I watched countless videos of people just kind of saying, what was Disney thinking? Why did they pick Star Wars? And now it makes sense. It's like, don't doubt, right? Because Disney Plus came out that, I think that spring or end of summer, and so fall. And then Mandalorian came out, and it was a success. Like, I mean, as soon as they showed Baby Yoda, it was like game over. Like everybody was to it.
Smitten.
Yes. And then it was interesting because Disney World opened Galaxy's Edge after Disneyland, and it seemed a lot more successful. People were more adamant to go there. Maybe they didn't, because they didn't have the competition of Universal. There is Universal, but maybe because they didn't have the Jurassic World branding there yet. But I think that clearly there's a plan there. So with that being said, they had the success of Avengers Endgame. They set up the streaming platform. They opened this land exclusive to Star Wars in both parks. And they were going to announce the new movies like Loki and the Winter Soldier, like you said. And then they didn't put it on the platform until now.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Like, do you think it was kind of a saving grace, or do you think they think that the pandemic is coming to an end and maybe they're going to be able to market it and maybe get more out of it? Because I think they make more money off of park operations and then merchandise sales, maybe actually movies and productions. What do you think about that? I'm kind of like,
I think what, I think what it is that, you know, you look at like what they were doing before Disney Plus and like now, I think it's also is when you have something like The Mandalorian, you know, you can create a ride off of The Mandalorian, you know, like, and this is just me spitballing, being a creative, you know, like you have like the, you know, Star Tours, you have, you know, the Millennium Falcon ride, you know, what's to stop them from creating a ride for The Mandalorian, you know? So it's really not, it doesn't seem like it's going to be that hard to create something for that. And I mean, there was always that, you know, Boba Fett had that, you know, that audience. And now this is, you know, now, I mean, I'd hered of him, but now I like see it and I'm like, oh, this is the way. This is pretty dope, you know? This is awesome. You know, so it's like you opened it up to a whole new world. And I also think with like the Marvel announcement too, I think that the representation of different people, you know, like if you've been to Epcot and you see like the different cultures, it's like that world around the lake, you know, and you see like the English land, the Mexican land, the Japanese land, the Chinese land. And, you know, for people, different cultures, you know, who maybe feel underrepresented, oh my gosh, we got a place at Disneyland, you know, or Disney World, I should say. And I can only imagine when, you know, if they bring Miss Marvel, the new Miss Marvel into the park, or, you know, Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings, and he gets a spot in the park, you know, and whatever they choose to do with Wakanda in the park, you know, it's like, these are all groups that have been underrepresented in hero movie and superhero movies, and now they're getting their time to shine. Yeah. And I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to, you know, it's kind of like what Disney's done with, you know, with Moana and Coco, Soul, you know, all these different, you know, minority groups that, you know, have only seen, you know, white heroes in animation. Now they see all kinds of heroes, all kinds of representation. And I think it's just good for the parks. I think it's good for Disney as a brand to be more diverse. And I mean, they're going to see a bump in their profits, because I think that, you know, I mean, your kids are going to say, hey, that looks like me. You know, I want to experience it. Let's go to the park. So I think it's smart on their part, and they don't have to invest as much because it's all a Disney production. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did notice, speaking of the finance portion, that their stock went up like $8 overnight and then up 15 the next day after the investors announcement. So it's been doing really well, and it's good. Yeah. I'm so glad that they are trying to get a diverse approach and give some more representation in their characters. I just hope they have writers that are also represented with the different backgrounds, because you and I have talked about that with the Star Wars franchise. They could have done better with the last couple movies. I mean, I'm not going to say I enjoyed them, but it made me wonder who was in the writing room. You know,
you definitely saw Finn's storyline kind of tail off, and you weren't sure what happened, and you know, started out with so much promise. You're like, oh, this guy's the new Han Solo. This is awesome. He's funny. He's like a regular guy. He's like a fan favorite, and then all of a sudden, it's just like he's in the background, and you're like, this doesn't make much sense. Like, where did you go? You know, like, I thought you were supposed to be. What's that?
Yeah, what's his situation? Like, is he sensitive? They did the Lego special for holiday on, and the whole like premise there is Rey trying to train him and get him to expand, and he's force sensitive in it. And I'm like, okay, so are they going to continue that? But I didn't hear anything about that in the announcement. So maybe that's for later, or maybe I don't really know, but I'm excited for the diversity. I'm excited for them to give new characters and, you know, new thoughts a chance. And I love The Mandalorian. It's great. It's so good. It's so good. And I just hope they keep expanding. And then two things I wanted to touch on too. I kept a couple notes on this. So they are supposed to be opening the Star Wars inspired hotel. And that's in Florida, and it's the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel. It's a 2-day, 2-night experience. There's some pictures out there. It looks really cool. It's like the rooms look like cots almost, with beds. I'm not sure what the 2-day experience will be. Maybe it's like immersive, but that's pretty cool. Yeah. And circling back to Marvel, they have the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind Coaster that's supposed to be in 2021, I believe. Well, actually, I don't think they've officially set a date. It's going to be in Epcot, but I think that that's super cool too, because I think it's more evident in Disneyland that they're making a Marvel footprint there with the Avengers campus opening up. And I was on their Disneyland page. I mean, they have a ton of stuff. I wrote some stuff down there. They have the Web Slinger, a Spider-Man adventure, the Avengers Campus Training Center. They already had Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, which was a big deal, right? Because they changed
the Tower of Terror.
Tower Terra over. Yes.
Yeah.
And then they have Sanctum, which is a Doctor Strange experience. I'm not really sure what that is. If it's just like a show, maybe.
It looks like it's like in like some kind of garden, and it looks like some kind of magic show. I mean, it's a part of the campus, so I'm sure that people will frequent it.
It kind of makes sense, because I think that, hopefully I'm not mixing my places up, but A Bug's Life was over there, and they already had like a greenery type there, so maybe that makes sense if they do a Doctor Strange thing. And then Avengers headquarters, which is really cool. I'm picturing like the Marvel twist on the Jurassic Park headquarters that's in Universal Studios Orlando. And then the Pym Test Kitchen, which is supposed to be
it's Ant-Man,
Ant-Man and Wasp in the Wasp inspired kitchen. Yeah. So weird. I didn't know they cooked. So I'm like, all right, what are you guys making? Like, I don't know.
And I've seen some photos. I've seen some photos, and it's like you'll see like the oversized pretzel, a really tiny pretzel. You know, so it's like I love it. I think it's cool. You know, I'm very partial to Ant-Man. I love Ant-Man. But I think it's cool because it's like it tells kind of the story, and it uses the story in the test kitchen. You know, like things are big, things are small, things are kind of weird looking. You know, like I think that's awesome.
It's obviously going to be tasting excellent. So okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense then. I'm excited for. I think they were so smart to put that in California Adventure because, I mean, we've gone to California like several times. We went to California Adventure, and I remember going and being like, okay, cool, like when I was younger, but it didn't feel like I needed to go back. Like if I had to pick, I would pick Disneyland.
Yeah.
And then with Pixar Pier's announcement and continuing to expand it, they're doing the right thing. Even with the Mickey's Scary Party, they did a Oogie Boogie themed one in California Adventure not this year, obviously, but last year. So they're definitely pushing a lot of marketing to try to build that park up.
Yeah.
And even Buena Vista Street opening up. You know, they opened Buena Vista Street as an extension to downtown Disney to kind of, you know, you can see, I've seen videos, and I'll be down there in a couple of weeks. You'll see the Avengers campus like behind the trees, and people are like zooming, trying to see if they can see anything.
Yeah.
And there's aerial shots from the top too. It looks like it's almost complete. I mean, it looks really good. So I'm excited for that. And this is going to be the first time that Spider-Man is on
in the park, right?
Yes.
Yeah, kids are going to lose their minds.
I know.
Adults are going to lose their minds.
It's going to be cool. I'm excited to see what they do with it.
Oh, and and I think it's interesting though. You mentioned Pixar, and you know, after seeing Toy Story 4, you know, I was like, where do they go with it now? You know, is it Buzz and Jesse? Is it just Jesse? Is it this? And then like seeing, you know, or hearing the announcement for Lightyear, which is like the story of the story of Buzz, or the astronaut that it's based off of. And Chris Evans is doing the voice, I think is fantastic, because it's like, oh, like everybody likes Buzz. This is the person who Buzz is based on. People know Chris Evans. People like Chris Evans. And I think that's just a cool place to take it, because it's just like, you know, I wouldn't say people are tired of seeing the toys, but it's kind of like, okay, well, you know, like someone gets stolen or someone gets lost, or, you know, someone loses a part, and now it's just like, okay, like this is like an origin story that you never saw coming. So I think that's like, it's really smart by Disney, and I think it's great to keep someone like Chris Evans in Disney, you know, like I don't know, like, you know, we don't see, you know, he's gone, but now it's great.
I agree with you. I think that I do one thing about Disney Plus. I love the Forky Asks a Question series. I don't know why they didn't bring that back. That was so cute. It was so cute. My kids loved it. And I like the Jessie backstory. That was good too. I struggled with Toy Story 4. I'm glad that he got to find Bo, but I struggled with it. I don't know.
I think it's something that we, when we're in advertising, we call it like a concept on a concept. And it's like an idea that's already complex, and now you add it into another idea, you know, with the dolls and the voice box. And like, I think that like you know, it's aimed at kids, and, you know, like the voice box is such a complicated thing. You know, and like I felt this way when I saw the preview for Soul too. I'm like, oh, that's interesting, but like kids aren't gonna get this, you know, like it's just like it's so layered, and maybe I'm wrong, you know, and I'm probably gonna be wrong. As soon as that movie comes out, kids are gonna be like, oh, I love this movie, you know, but like it just feels like it's so complex. But you know, and that's what we can get from the trailer. I'm sure when we see, you know, in theaters, we're like, oh yeah, they put it together amazingly, you know, but it does feel like, like, I mean, for Toy Story 4, like, you know, if I had to ask my kids, like, oh, which one do you want to watch? Very rarely do they say Toy Story 4. I think it's more like Toy Story 2, or going to the daycare and like, you know, meeting Lotso. Like that one's really simple for them to understand. Like they know who the bad guy is. He's the ugly bear. Like they get it.
Yeah, I think that Soul, I'm curious to see where it goes, because it is essentially about death. Pixar does do that. They do wrap pretty intense concepts into movies. I think that it's almost like parts of it are for kids and parts of it for adults. Like Up is one of my favorites. But that movie is so sad. Every time I watch it, I'm like, you know, like ugly cry. But
that first 10 minutes is really intense.
Oh my gosh. And my son's like, why are they painting the baby's room? And then they stopped. And I'm like,
Yeah.
On the balloons, like I'm not ready to have that conversation.
Yeah,
That's life though, right? Some kids have some serious things they got to deal with at a young age, so
yeah,
that's it.
I mean, and I guess that's also part of like Disney not being so rosy anymore. Like you look at like their catalog on Disney Plus from like, by the decade, and then all of a sudden you get to like the 2000s and the 2010s, and the tone changes, like maybe it's, the people changing, but the tone changes from like everything's amazing, everything is rosy, the good guys always win, to maybe the good guys don't always win. Maybe the good guys learn a lesson, So, I mean, maybe this is just like a different way of diversifying stories, and I'm sure that it'll come to the park too, like I'm sure like the way that they expand on Pixar, I'm sure like Lightyear will get some more play in the park or something, like they'll do something, because it's just, people love Buzz and people love whatever Pixar does. So
exactly. And speaking of, I did read that they're going to be opening up a barbecue restaurant in Toy Story Land in Hollywood Studios in Disney World, which I thought was cool. Like that fits. I love the grilled cheeses over there. That's the stop we take. But I don't know. Do you remember they used to have a barbecue restaurant in a Disneyland? It was over by
I can like
Big
visualize
Thunder
what this thing
Mountain.
looks like now.
Big Thunder Mountain.
Yes.
Right next to Big Thunder.
Yes.
There was a barbecue restaurant there. And, if you ate, it was an all you can eat. You paid like a fee, and then they came out family style. A lot of people like would say, yeah, it's good, but if you eat it, you'll want to go to sleep right away, and you can't stay in the parking.
Yeah.
Tired. Oh, there's a shadow right there.
But you already paid full admission.
You already paid. And
we got your money.
They had one of the presidential pardoned turkeys that was like right there. It's kind of sad actually now that I think about it. It was like a small box. And I don't think it would be out there all day, but it'd be out there, and it would say like pardoned presidential turkey from, I don't know what year it was, but then they closed it down because I don't know why they closed it down, and they didn't do anything else there like another restaurant. But now they're introducing that in Toy Story Land, so I wonder maybe it will market better there. I'm not sure, but
I feel like it fits the vibe really well, because like when you walk into Toy Story Land, like we took our girls last year, and that was like the big draw, and you feel like you're walking into a backyard, like from the Slinky coaster to like the different toys areas that are set up, like what is it like like the shooting thing, the shooting gallery, the little stage where you meet like Buzz and Woody, or I should say whichever character is there, Yeah, like you, it just feels like a backyard. So the barbecue, I feel like it all works, like all those things like just fit in so well. And then, like I was telling you, like reading up on the history of like Disney, like with Walt Disney, like how he wanted each area to have that theme, and it's like that theme would not bleed over into another area. Like walking into Toy Story Land, I'm like, oh, I do feel like I'm in Andy's backyard or Sid's backyard, this feels like a place that this would be.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot with like the Marvel announcement. I feel like there's like kind of something for everybody, like you have She-Hulk and Mark Ruffalo. I think Mark Ruffalo is probably the best actor in the Marvel universe, like as an actor. Like he doesn't need the Marvel universe needs him, and like for him to be in that, I think is so cool. Like I think it's gonna be like, it's really cool to see like something centered around like a character like that, who's kind of like, it's kind of like we knew who she was, we collected the cards, she's in that book over your shoulder, but it's just like Disney is doing what they've always done with like all these characters, like they could be like characters that you might never have heard of, I
think I'll obviously fall in love with her once it's launched more. And I'm just glad that they are giving, I'll say it, female characters some shine. Even with the success of, this is not Disney, but Wonder Woman, they paid her $330,000 for that movie.
That's nothing. That's so garbage.
I can't believe. I don't think it was so good, and it did so good. Now she's getting paid way more. But
she should,
I'm just glad that they're realizing there is I don't know why they wouldn't, but there's a market there, and there's people that want to see that and want to be able to identify with different heroes that are not just male characters. I mean, even
totally.
Marvel, like she came in and And like that scene where she falls down and she gets back up when being taunted, so powerful. It gives me chills, and no matter how many times I watched it, I remember the last time I watched it, I was watching it with my sister Renee, and we were both just like, oh, so good.
Goosebumps. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I do think her entrance too in Endgame, you know, or her re-entrance when she comes through the ship is so powerful. You know, like obviously like you were watching her, and I think that Marvel did this on purpose, her, Scarlet Witch, and you're like, okay, these are probably the most powerful Avengers, and they're female.
So powerful.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how powerful she was.
Yeah.
Yeah, WandaVision is going to be too.
Yeah, and I think that's such a cool concept, like the whole like, you know, TV through different eras, and like, you know, if we're gonna believe the premise, it's like all happening in her head. Like she goes kind of insane, and this is all her way of coping. I think is going to be really cool to see, and like how they pull it off is going to be amazing. Mm-hmm. Because like they're already like she's already Elizabeth Olsen's already like I think it's Elizabeth. She's already like a really really good actress, and so to do this, what's that?
Is she one of the Olsen sisters?
She's their younger sister.
Okay, I can see the similarity for sure.
Yeah, the eyes and stuff. I at first I was like, oh, this is she? Yeah, is she the third one? And then you're like, oh wait, like this is the little sister to the other two. She's like,
I liked how she performed that character, because I've always seen it. Was she in an X-Men movie too? A couple X-Men movies?
No, she wasn't in the X-Men movies. So in the Wolverine movies, like the origin Wolverine, they talk about there's a little girl that plays Scarlet Witch, but doesn't show any powers or anything like that. So they kind of just hint at it because both X-Men and Avengers have those characters in them. And now that they're one, it doesn't really matter. But, you know, I'm sure like with those like legal reasons there, you can only show so many things. You know, like there's a Quicksilver that was with the X-Men. There's a Quicksilver that was with the Avengers.
Yeah.
And now it's like they had to kill off the Avengers one. So, you know, that was confusing for a little bit. But I feel like, you know, like now that it's all one, it's like, you know, you look at like Fantastic Four, they made the announcement. So now like there is the legit crossover. It's going to happen. And it's going to hopefully be amazing. The last Fantastic Four, you know, so hopefully this one's a little better.
Everybody's so excited for the Fantastic Four. I got to see it. I just got to see it. I'm like, all right.
Oh, wait, you never saw the last one?
I did, which is why I'm like, okay, they're coming out again. I'm excited to see Loki. I think that's going to be really cool. I like the actor. I like how he portrays the character. He's like, being the god of mischief, it's perfect. Like, he did a great job with it. What is your top 2 things that you're super excited about to see from the announcements?
One thing, they didn't even show this, but one thing that I was really excited about but mostly like kind of relieved about was the announcement that they're not replacing Chadwick Boseman. I think that's a very respectful thing to do. I think other movie studios might have done it and been like, hey, this is the new Black Panther. And I think what we assume is that Shuri is going to get the spot and she is going to be the new Black Panther, and they're going to figure out a story to give her that. And so I think that was really exciting because it's a little bit of respect to the character, to the actor, that they're not replacing him. So I thought that was really cool. And then I think another thing I'm really excited for is the new Miss Marvel. I think that's really, really interesting what they're doing. They're bringing a young hero into things. Who is diverse. You know, we don't see many South Asian, you know, superheroes. I mean, like they have Kumail Nanjiani is going to be in the Eternals as one of the heroes. But I mean, that's a little bit further off. So to see this young kid who we're going to see weekly, you know, and to be able to show like, you know, my girls, like, hey, look, it's someone who looks like you know, like Disney Junior has a show called Mirror World Detective. This is going to be like even better because it's going to be a real kid, you know? So I think those are the 2 things I'm super excited for. And then just to see like, I mean, the writing as a writer, like the writing is so good for all these series. Like there's not really one where you're just like, oh, all right. You know, like they just keep outdoing themselves. So I'm just really excited, I think, for the level of writing. What are you excited for?
Oh gosh, this has to be Marvel or Star Wars. Does it have to be Marvel or Star Wars?
Whatever. I think whatever you're excited for from the announcements, maybe.
I'm excited. Okay, so I'm looking forward to Miss Marvel. I'm looking forward to Loki. I am honestly looking forward to The Princess and the Frog. That on topic with this, but I'm super excited for that. And then I am excited to see, but also terrified to see what they do with Hocus Pocus. I love that movie. I hope they don't mess it up, but I'm sure it will be fine.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot. They know that it's a treasure, I would think, for a lot of people. But I am excited also for Ahsoka. That's a big one for me.
Oh,
I watched all the Clone Wars shows, but I might start binging some of the seasons because there's so many. I think there's like 9 seasons with like over 20 episodes in it. But I like her character, and I'm excited to see what they do with it. I wish she would have did more for the baby in The Mandalorian. I was like, we're just gonna send him over here, and now he's captured.
I know.
But hopefully they redeem that in the season finale or in her show, because her show's
spoiler alert,
right? I mean,
I thought she did great in The Mandalorian too, because I thought she was like such a powerful but understated character, and Rosario Dawson just did an awesome job. Like, I don't know the character. I never watched the Clone Wars animated, but I mean, like, you know, from reading on the character and then like, you know, from watching her, and like she just was awesome. And like I could totally see that, like, it feels like with the Mandalorian, they're like going to these different worlds, sowing these seeds, you know, so you're like, oh yeah, you know, I mean, obviously she has a following from before, but it's like cool, like, to create the Mandalorian's universe. And Baby Yoda, and like I think they're just doing a cool job with that, and like to get more like diversity in the Star Wars universe. Like there was like one black guy in the original Star Wars universe, Billy D. You know, like that was it. Like no other black people in face.
Black,
you know?
But nobody knows that.
No, of course not.
Actual character, but in the Anakin wasn't black, but So no, you're right, and they're going the right direction for sure. Yeah. Sure. So that's the stuff I'm excited for.
Definitely.
I talk about this for hours, but I know that you and me both have to go take care of our kids.
I mean, hopefully, like, we get to go to the parks pretty soon. I mean, like, once everybody gets, feeling better, you know, like, it'd be good to, like, it'd be finally nice to, like, go to the parks and, like, not have to worry about, does this person got, you know, what next to me, or, you know, what next to me. So I think, like, that's the number one thing, is, like, to get people back in the parks, to experience this whole experience, get the Disney experience going again. Because right now it's like, it feels like, even though Disney's doing a good job of announcing new series, it still feels like, you know, it feels disjointed because you're not there, you know?
Right. And I mean, Disney World's open, but I don't want to go until things calm down a little bit. To such a long trip for us. But, you know,
for sure,
I do want to get you on a Marvel cruise, you know, Marvel Day at Sea. Disney does have the Marvel Day at Sea. Also, if you go on a longer cruise, you will see the Marvel characters. I'm going to post a video of my oldest meeting Spider-Man, and then me meeting Thor, and my mom was like on his arm, and my dad was like,
oh, I'm sure.
So, and we met Black Widow too on the cruise. So yeah, another thing. I'm gonna get you and Guy. We're gonna go, the family.
You do love your cruises, I will say. Like, you are a cruise connoisseur for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and they have like the Disney Junior like characters all over the place. So
okay,
that would be impactful. Do it for your children.
They would lose their minds. They probably just follow. Like Doc McStuffins and Mira, Royal Detective, around the cruise ship at that point.
They would. And, you know, they have unique experiences where they come into the kids area. So the kids can't, and adults can't be in there. They just get to be with the characters. So
that's kind of cool.
Outside, like looking in, like wanting to see. Sometimes they let the adults in, but yeah, they get their unique experiences. So
yeah, I might that maybe that makes me feel more pressured now. I mean, like, that's definitely kind of cool for the kids, for sure.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. No problem.
I'm gonna definitely invite you on more so we can talk more about this, because I love the topic.
Cool.
You have all the knowledge, so thank you. Anything you want to like bring up, like you on Instagram or anything like that? Or?
I take fun photos on Instagram. Find me. My handle is photos from the tracks. Not so much Disney stuff, just stuff I see, and just fun, just playing around. And that's pretty much it. But I am super excited to keep talking about this stuff and really excited to see all the stuff you make. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on. Everybody, thank
Sure.
you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video, and we will talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.